Good evening. It's good to see everyone here this evening. Welcome to the Russellville City Council meeting for Thursday, November the 17th at 6 p.m. At this point, we will please stand. Don Irwin will come for the invocation.
Thank you. Let us pray. Our God and Heavenly Father, I give you thanks on behalf of the Russellville Area Ministerial Association for the privilege of opening this meeting in prayer. We bless your name for the peace and health and safety that has made it possible for us to gather for this meeting of the Russellville City Council. We thank you for the institution of government which you've ordained for the common good, for the deterrence of evil and the praise of those who do good. We give you thanks for the community development, city services, and public safety that you've extended to our community through our city council's efforts. Now we seek you for your blessing upon them as they pursue the management and oversight of our city. That tonight you will fill Mayor Richard Harris, Councilwoman Phyllis Carruth, the City Councilman Sean Harris, Mark Tripp, Chris Olson, Rick Harrell, Eric Westcott, Paul Gray, and Justin Keller, our Financial Director, Robin Johnson, Trey Smith, City Attorney, and Gina Skelton, City Clerk, that you'll fill them with the wisdom that is from above, which is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. Make their efforts result in a harvest of righteousness sown in peace by those who make peace. We offer this prayer hopefully because you are Lord of all, abounding in riches to those who call upon your name. And I offer this prayer in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask City Clerk, Ms. Skelton, to do the roll call.
Ms. Carruth. She leave?
She was here. She's gone. Oh, she had something too. She had
Okay.
granddaughter thing.
Mr. Harris. Here. Mr. Tripp. Mr. Elson. Mr. Harrell. Here. Mr. Westcott.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gray.
Here.
Mr. Keller. Here. Mayor Harris.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Aye. And myself. You got a quorum.
Thank you. Council, you have in your packet the meeting minutes for October the 20th, 2022. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time, Ms. Johnson provides the financial report.
Financial report for the City of Russellville for October 2022. The general fund October revenues were $1,731,882, which is 6% above budget. Tax receipts were $1,047,801. Franchise fees and permits were $479,223. If you look at a tax revenue comparison, on city taxes year to date, we've received $4,650,727, and at county, we received $5,374,307. An increase over prior year for city is 9% and 8% the county. If you compare to budget, city is above budget by 3% and county is above budget by 3%. General fund October expenditures were $1,141,731. Personnel-related expenditures were $844,986. Utilities and other were $296,745. It's 6% below budget. $2,330,601 more received than expended. October revenues for the street fund were $1,021,859. New sales tax was $659,948. State turnback and ad valorem tax were $180,186. Half-cent road sales tax was $72,371. Interest was $96,303. Insurance and utility reimbursement was $9,944. Street cutting permits was $2,300. Street operating revenue is running at 5% above year-to-date projections. Street fund expenditures for October operations were $173,246. Personnel-related expenses were $116,194. Utilities and other were $57,052. Street capital, we spent $21,538 for 4 steel road plates. Half-cent road sales tax was $2,246 for Schoolhouse Trail Row easements, and sales tax spending was $323,348 for pavement preservation, which we've called overlay, sidewalk maintenance Phase 1 and 2, West Main Place drainage project, and drainage maintenance. October revenues for economic development were $109,085. This was made up of new sales tax of $94,278 and interest of $14,807. October expenditures were $284,023. We purchased a sewer line from City of Dover for $245,000. We reimbursed the AR Valley Alliance $20,085 and reimbursed Workforce Development $18,938. That was third quarter expenses. The balance of the various economic development funds as of October 31st were the 2003 fund, $1,569,432.39. The 2007 fund was $1,035,539.78. The 2014 fund is $260,162.88. And the 2021 fund is $1,676,471.64. So total dollars in economic development funds was $4,541,606.69. October revenues for capital assets was $24,005. There was a fund transfer total of $22,223 from the general fund carryover balance to purchase the obstacle course at the Aquatic Center and provide additional funding for the airport hangar and apron project. There was interest earned of $1,782. October expenditures were $42,092. We finally received a vehicle for code enforcement, $24,911. And we replaced AC unit in City Hall and a heat pump at RPD for $17,182. The 2021 1-cent sales tax picture as of the end of October, inception to date, received $12,719,381 for street. We spent $2,894,294 with a balance of $9,825,087. RFD, RPD capital, we received $1,817,068. We spent $292,559, and leaves a balance of $1,524,509. The parks, we received $2,445,621. We spent $470,466, and we have a balance of $1,975,155. Economic development capital, we received $1,820,942. We spent $144,471, and we have a balance of $1,676,471. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
The mayor's report. Council, you were all provided a receipt of the legislative audit, and I would like to do a roll call by the council to document that you indeed have received that legislative audit. Ms. Skelton?
Mr. Harris? Yes. Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Olson? Yes. Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Mr. Westcott?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes, ma'am.
You've received yours, haven't you? Mr.
Yes.
Harris? Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Myself.
I don't think I need it.
You don't have to.
Okay. Thank you. Before we move on to the departmental reports from Mr. Mallett, I want to recognize that we have 3 council members that have served the community over the last several years, some more than others. In the December meeting for the mayor's report, I would like to extend the opportunity for the council members to have a few minutes to address the citizens of the city before you leave office. So in December, during the mayor's report, I will afford you that opportunity to address the citizens if you so desire. So. Moving on to the department report, Mr. Mallett.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. This is my annual report to the council. The mayor tells me I have 10 minutes, so I'm marking myself up there to make sure, because I told him feel free to cut me off at 10 minutes, but I'm going to talk about something that's a lot more involved, but I'm going to try to give a brief summary over our rate structure and how we bill water and wastewater, because I know you folks get a lot of questions about that. Our board gets a lot of questions about that. It's a little different how we bill water versus wastewater, so I'm going to get into that, because usually I come in and I talk about the bond projects that we've had over the last 8 years. If you remember, in 2014, you approved a capital improvements plan along with a 2014 rate plan that was incorporated into the rate ordinance to deal with issues we were having primarily on the wastewater side, and obviously some water projects as well. And again, for the last, I guess, 6 or 7 years, I come in and I give this long step-by-step report on how we're coming on that, and we're basically at the finish line. We're wrapping up the last 2 projects, one at the wastewater plant and then a couple downtown, with the exception of the downtown water and wastewater that's just getting kicked off. We're complete with that. So again, many thanks, our gratitude to the council and the community for supporting that measure. And we're in much better shape than we were 8 years ago when we started this project, and we're able to assimilate some growth and entertain some folks that are wanting to come to town and need water and sewer services. So that'll be the last you hear from that until we have our next round. So for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and move on and talk about our rates. We've got 2 ordinances, a water and wastewater ordinance that approve the rates. Rates can only be approved or changed by the city council. So you folks are the only ones that can do that. We can make recommendations, and then you can act on those if you so choose. The 2014 plan that I was referring to was approved and included 5 years of proposed increases that we have passed, and now we're on to the 3% annual increase that occurs effective every January 1st. So water billing for residential only. I'm going to focus on residential because I'm assuming that's where you get most of your questions. We have a tiered or conservation rate, which means the cost for water is more expensive as your usage increases. So the monthly meter charge is $12.70 for a normal 5/8" residential meter. And then as you can see, the first 2,000 gallons are $2.33, and then it goes up in increments. 2,000 to 5,000 gallons is about 66 cents more. Or, I'm sorry, 46 cents more, and then it jumps up to $3.06, 1,000 above 5,000. That was primarily done. I think the council at the time had some input on that. We wanted to make things less, or I guess easier for fixed income, single folks that didn't use a whole lot of water, to provide some relief there as far as providing the cheapest rate for the lowest. And so obviously if you're a larger household or you're sprinkling your yard or some things that you may have some discretionary funds to do, it's a little more expensive as you move on. And it's also called a conservation rate to discourage folks from wasting water and putting in more efficient water fixtures and things like that at the house. And it's been very effective. Our highest usage, demand water usage this year during the dry summer we've had in a while is still less than what we've had in years past. So we're actually making and selling less water now than we were, I'd say 6, 7 years ago. And the only thing I can really come up with is just everything's more efficient nowadays. All the low flow toilets and the low flow appliances and things like that, all the new houses have those, and the people are upgrading and remodeling that. Some of that, I think ConAgra and some of our industries are using a little less water. They're a little more efficient with their water use as well. But we currently have plenty of water available, so we're about a little over 50% of our capacity at the highest date in the summer. So we're still in good shape there. Our outside city limit rates are 50% more than inside rates, and that's the same for water and sewer rates. So other information on the residential water bill, our customer is provided 20 days from the time the bill is mailed or emailed, depending on your selection, to make the payment. So after 20 days, we notify with a letter in the mail and an automated phone call. 14 days later, if we haven't heard, payment hasn't been made or arranged, we schedule them for shut-off, And then the Friday prior to shut-off, we once again send a letter in the mail and an automated phone call, or if we have time, we make personal phone calls to let them know they're going to be shut off. So that's 34 days after the date the bill is mailed before they are scheduled for shut-off. So it's probably in the range of 40 days by the time they're shut off. We do require a $100 deposit on all new accounts. So if you don't have a history with us, unless you can provide a letter of credit from a previous utility, we'll waive the deposit. If you fall into a lower credit status, so if you're behind on paying your bill a couple times, it may trigger a larger or additional deposit. So that may be the complaint that some of you folks get, is maybe they have a $100 delinquent bill and they don't pay it. Now there's a $25 disconnect fee, and then it puts them in a credit class where now we're requiring additional deposit. So their $100 delinquent bill now becomes $250 to get it turned back on. That seems to be the most common complaint that we get, is that, I had a $100 bill and now it's $250. And we explain to them it's because your payment class fell into a lower class that triggered an additional deposit that covers basically 2 months worth. Because if you can obviously do the math, if you're 30 days late and we allow another 40 days, you can be 2 bills behind. So that would cover a regular bill for 2 months. So I don't know if you folks get some of those phone calls, but I have received some of those. But that's how you go from a $100 bill to somewhere in the range of $250. There are no leak adjustments granted on water because unless there's a meter reading error or an operational error with the meter. So in other words, if the meter is correct and the water went through your meter, we expect payment for that. We don't allow that. You may have a leak. Your sprinkler may have been programmed wrong. But we do make payment arrangements if you want to pay it out. But if the water goes through your meter and there was no error on our side, we don't allow for a leak adjustment on the water side. So where do we fall as compared to our peers across the state? For a 5,000-gallon water bill, we're a little over $25, $25.73. As you see, that's a little more than some states or some cities around, and less than others. The state average is $37.43. So we're about $12, give or take, below the state average. Given the rate increases that we've experienced over the last 8 years, to be still in the middle and a little less than average on the water, I think is a good position to be in. Wastewater billing, a little different there. It's a decreasing tiered rate, which means it's less expensive the more you use. Inside city limit rates, there's a monthly minimum bill of $14.98, which covers the first 1,000 gallons of wastewater. Then it's $5.81 per thousand from up to 20,000, and $4.95 per thousand after that. And you'll note, if you paid attention to the rates for the water, this is almost twice the rate for the water. As you may remember, the lion's share of the projects that we've done over the last 8 years, 80% of them were wastewater related. Our wastewater rate was very low in comparative to the water and others, so we made more increases on the wastewater side to cover that portion of the projects that we've done over the last, again, 7 or 8 years. So again, now we've leveled off in an annual increase, the 3%, I guess you want to call that a maintenance increase. That keeps us from coming back 5 years from now of no increases and needing a 15 or 20% to catch up. So hopefully that keeps us at a little short of inflation lately, but hopefully we'll get back into a normal inflationary rate. So the commercial, industrial, public authority is based on actual monthly water usage. So whatever their water meter says, that's what their sewer is based on a monthly bill. For residential usage, it's based on a flat rate that's determined by the average of January, February, and March water usage. And we apply that average in April, and that's good for the next 12 months. Now, you may say, why in the world do you do different for residential than you do for commercial? Very simply, the decision was made years ago that if we based your sewer bill off your domestic usage, so the thinking is January, February, March, all of your usage is baths and cooking and anything internal. You don't wash your car, you don't water your garden, you don't sprinkle your yard. So the usage in January, February, March should be your base household average monthly use. So once we get that, we apply that for the rest of the year. That way in the summer months, if you want to water your garden, if you want to wash your car, if you want to sprinkle your yard, you can do that through your existing meter. And you won't be charged sewer because your sewer rate is set. So you'll be charged the water that you use, but the sewer rate will stay constant. So that keeps you from having to put in a sprinkler meter, because if you were billed on your water usage, you would probably elect to put in a sprinkler meter. So if we went to that billing structure at this point, then we would basically, anyone who has a sprinkler system would probably be looking at spending a couple $1,000s to address that issue. So I think we would probably get a lot of complaints if we made that switch at this point, because the only way to get out of paying sewer on the water that you would use sprinkler in your yard would be have a sprinkler meter, or ask for a variance or a leak adjustment every month when you fill your pool or wash your car. And obviously that's not practical. So this system has worked. Where it creates us problems, and this would be the other thing that I think you might get a call about if people are complaining, if you have a leak during the month of January, February, or March. So those are the months we're setting your average. If you have a leak, or if you have some excessive water use for one or all three of those months, then obviously it inflates your sewer rate. So in April, if it adjusts from you were used to paying 4,000 gallons based on your previous average, and now it's 8 or 10 because you had a water leak, that obviously creates a problem. So then we have to go back and adjust it and find a credit. Well, if you don't have 3 months prior to that where you have an average bill, we have to wait 3 months until you establish an average bill and make sure that you've repaired the leak. Well, obviously that's not really practical either, expecting someone to wait 3 months and pay a higher inflated sewer bill and then come back 3 months later and credit all that back off. So I've instructed our customer service rep to go ahead and apply the average system-wide usage for that as a default, to try to eliminate any of those calls, because that's the calls we were getting in April, May, June. My sewer bill's still high, and we're trying to establish what your average usage is. But we went ahead and last year and years moving forward, hopefully we will have addressed that by just making that assumption. And then obviously next January, February, March, it will correct itself. So if they're under, we're just underbilling them for a few months until it corrects itself next year. So those are the two things, the two items that I think obviously the reconnect and the increase in the deposit, plus the sewer credit on the residential bill. And again, I move very fast through that, and if you have any questions, you feel free to bring them up or call me after the meeting, and I'll be able to handle them. So wastewater bill comparison, it's a little flip-flopped. We're $38.22. We're still more than some and still less than some. You'll notice Fort Smith is right at $61. They had got sideways with EPA and had to do a lot of improvements, and EPA basically forced their rate to that point. We are right at, I guess, 13 and change, 14 and change above the state average. But if you look at our combined bill, we're just literally $3 less than the state average for combined bill. So again, we're right in the middle. We're average. I feel like our big rate increases are behind us. So I think we'll probably start moving closer to the bottom as the others are ramping up. I think we're pretty good and pretty set right where we're at with no foreseeable issues in the future that would create a need to raise rates. We do have an Eye on Water app that you can monitor your usage and help detect leaks before we catch them with a bill, and you can download that at Citicorp. And here's what that page looks. As it says up in the left hand, you can set up leak notifications to let you know that your water usage is higher than normal, or you have water usage throughout the night. Obviously, if you have a toilet leak or something like it, it'll alarm you on your phone if you set it up that way, and text you and say, hey, there's something going on at your house, so you can monitor that yourself. Again, it's at citycorporation.com if you want to sign up for that. And we also provide some assistance, financial assistance, to those who are having trouble paying their water or wastewater bill. You can sign up for that on City Corporation as well. You can round up to the nearest dollar and donate it to that fund, or make direct donations to the fund. And we pass that along to Help Network. We don't try to administer that ourselves. We give it to Help Network, and we tell them that that's to be used for water and sewer bills. And so we direct people to Help Network as they come to us. So. The only other thing I'll mention about billing is we continue to be a billing partner for the city for sanitation services, for trash services, 75 cents per customer, and we include that with the water and sewer bill. So sometimes folks don't realize that there's a trash bill added to their water and sewer bill, and my bill's $100, and I'm like, well, that's water, sewer, and trash. So, 30, 40, and 30. So for 3 different utilities, that seems to be very reasonable to me, with considering how much we pay for some other utility services that we have. So, but we do provide very limited customer service. We get a lot of calls. Hey, my cart is is out in the road, or I need a cart, we just refer all those to Waste Management. They deal with the cart issues, the schedule, the complaints, et cetera. We are just a billing and collection arm partner for the city. This was the only slide I left from the other one. Well, this one and the next one, we still have some big items down the road, primarily the secondary water source. We continue to look at options for the secondary water source. We've got some pumping improvements at the wastewater plant and some pipeline replacements. Obviously, the lion's share of the estimated 150 to 300 million is a secondary water source. There was a study done for Hackers Creek over in the Appleton area, and this was back in 2014, and they estimated that at $250 million. So just an idea of the size and magnitude of what potential water sources are. We do have some partnerships that we're going to look at with Tri-County and some of the other surrounding areas to see if we can have a regional water source and maybe share some of that cost. But there's no schedule, there's no timing, there's no estimate for any of these really at this time, but they are on the radar, and it's something we're going to have to work out over the next few years through, as it says in the bottom, possible grant funding, capital that we have on hand, possible sales tax extension, and obviously rate or fee increases if necessary. This was the same slide I had last year because we once again were selected best drinking water in Arkansas at the Rural State Water Conference. In our partnership with Tri-County, we're able to qualify as a rural water provider, and we will again be competing in D.C. in February for the national drinking water test. So that wraps it up. Probably went a little long, and I apologize, but I was trying to get through as quick as I could without sounding too rushed. So thanks to you folks for again trusting us to be your partner and manage your water and wastewater system. And I'll be coming back next month with a nomination to fill the open seat on our board. Is there any questions about that or anything else?
I got one comment and one question.
Okay.
We have great water here. I travel a lot and go other places, and our water is amazing. It tastes so good compared to so many places I travel, so congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question about when someone gets behind on a water bill, do y'all have a mechanism to work with them? Because somebody's had a bad thing happen in their life, you know, poor folks, their medical bills or whatever, and they get to that 250. How do they get out of that? Because that seems like a compounding thing. So y'all have a mechanism there where you can help them, or does that go straight to, you just refer them to Help Network, which I was glad to hear you're giving the money there. How does that work?
Well, and again, we just started, our customer service manager initiated and implemented that program to start providing that funding. So it isn't that, because, you know, prior to that, we really didn't have any person, they could go ask for general help and might or might not get it, but this at least provides some money specifically for that. And the other thing we do is we work out a payment plan with them, so we allow them to pay it over time, spread that out over a few months rather than asking for it all at that point in time. So usually we will find a way to work with them. And unless it's kind of a repeat offender that we've continued to have trouble with, if we can take your word on it and you follow through, we extend that same opportunity in the future. But if, it just keeps compounding and it never gets to a point, we try to find ways to help them the best we can. But, at the end of the day, we're a utility, and if the bill's not paid by a certain time, we're left with no other option to shut them off. But again, this gives us the opportunity now to get them some financial assistance best we can. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, the agenda, Personnel Committee, Mr. Harrell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have before us the ordinance there for the third reading tonight on change on the personnel policy about reviewing disciplinary actions. We, in conversation with the Municipal League and their recommendation, we're asking to eliminate disciplinary appeals going to the mayor, that it would go first to the supervisor, then to the department head, and be resolved at those two levels.
This is the third of three readings. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to,
We need a second on this.
You do, and what about, do you suspend the rules in any way?
Yeah, Mr. Harrell.
help me out there.
You want
I'd
us-
like to make a motion to suspend the rules, read by title only for the third and final reading.
Okay. I have a motion. I have a second.
Yes, second.
I have a second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending a section of the City of Russellville Personnel Policy Manual, and for the purposes this ordinance, if passed, would amend the ordinance number 2091, which adopted the current in-use personnel policy manual and would remove the disciplinary step of an employee appealing from the department head to the mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Second. All discussion. Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, there was a request for this to be implemented immediately upon passage. Do I need to?
You make a motion for the emergency clause?
Yes, please.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the Finance Committee, Mr. Westcott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1 is consideration of a resolution that would authorize the mayor and city clerk treasurer to execute an offer and acceptance for the selling of 294.17 acres off of Highway 247. Now, this item was forwarded to the full council with no recommendation. The offer having been increased to $2,520 per acre, I move that we adopt this resolution as updated.
Okay, I do have a motion to adopt the resolution. Do I have a second? I have a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is consideration of a resolution that would express the willingness of the city of Russellville to partner with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for the Highway 331 Improvements Project up to a $3 million commitment. And we present item number 2 as a motion to adopt.
Thank you for that motion. Any discussion?
Mayor, if you don't care to refresh my memory, this may need to come from Mr. Duval or Mr. Newman, but what's the projected construction time on this? Is it 2 years out?
Mr. Newman, are we talking 2025 to 2026? Is that the estimated time? And Mr. Newman is stating for the record that the process is just beginning and we have to go through the design phase, the easement acquisitions, utility relocations, and bid for bid and then construction. So you're expecting, based on your discussion with RDOT, to be in that 2025, 2026 timeframe?
Yes, sir, that is correct. That's the expectation.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Items number 3 and 4. Number 3 is an appropriation request from the City General Fund 2021 year-end carryover balance, the sum of $215,013.30 to be used to fund a stipend for the General Fund Department's salaries with an anticipated pay date of December 9. Number 4 is very similar from the same source, the sum of $33,201.90 to be used to fund the stipend for the Street Fund employees with an anticipated pay date of December 9. And we forward items, or present items number 3 and 4, rather, as a motion to adopt.
Do you have any discussion?
Is this all city employees?
Yes, it is. Including part-time. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Items number 5 and 5A. Number 5 is an appropriation request from the 2021 Federal Stimulus Fund reserves. The balance of the fund at $5,756,754.50 to be used to reimburse the general fund for the uniformed personnel in the fire department and police department salaries for the year of 2021. And number 5A is consideration of a resolution that would amend our budgets to claim that in number 5. We present items number 5 and 5A as a motion to adopt.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6 is consideration for reimbursement for the Russellville Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $20,000 in accordance with their contract, and we present item number 6 as a motion to adopt.
Any discussion on item 6? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7 is consideration of a resolution that would authorize the city attorney to renew the state trademark protection on the city logo and authorize the finance department to issue a check to pay for that in the amount of $50. We present item number 7 as a motion to adopt.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8 is consideration of a resolution that would allow the mayor and city clerk treasurer to execute a letter of agreement with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services on behalf of the Russellville Fire Department Ambulance Service. We present item number 8 as a motion to adopt.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
From our meeting this evening, item number 1 is consideration of a resolution that would certify local government endorsement of the United Parcel Services plan to participate in the tax back program. We present item number 1 as a motion to adopt.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Items number 2 and 2C. Number 2 is review and consideration of a resolution that would provide for the adoption of the general fund revenues and expenditures budget for the upcoming year. And 2C is review and consideration of a resolution that would provide for the adoption of the street fund administration revenue and expenditures budget for next year. And we present items number 2 and 2C as a motion to adopt.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're in Finance Committee at this time, ma'am.
Item number 3 is an appropriation request from the city ACEDP grant, Phoenix Innovation Fund Reserves, the sum of $3,375 to be used as a pass-through for an expense reimbursement. We present item number 3 as a motion to adopt.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5 is consideration of an ordinance that would establish an ambulance fee schedule for the city of Russellville to provide for separate billing for fire, rescue, ambulance services, and other emergency services. I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read one time only by title with a short explanation.
Okay, I do have a motion to suspend the rules, read one time only. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance establishing an ambulance fee schedules for the city of Russellville, Arkansas, provide separate billing for fire, rescue, ambulance service, and other emergency services. It's inside the city of Russellville, Arkansas for the purposes. This ordinance would adopt the fee schedule that is set out in section 1 for the ambulance service that the city will, under the purview of the fire department, that will start up later, or beginning of the new year.
Motion to adopt.
I do have a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Westcott, I do have a question from the city clerk relating to items 2A and 2B. You mentioned item 2 and 2C, but
Well, to my understanding, at the beginning of the finance meeting at 5:30, we were told that 2A and 2B were included in number 2.
okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. Where were we?
I had a motion to adopt.
Okay, get a motion
we
to
passed.
adopt on item 5. We just did that. Oh, emergency, okay.
Mayor, to provide for the immediate implementation of this program, I move that we enact the emergency clause.
I have a motion to enact the emergency clause. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6 is consideration of a resolution that would authorize the acquisition of lots 9 and 10 of the A.E. Luker Second Edition for the Lattimore Tourist Home Site through the use of eminent domain, and we present item number 6 as a motion to adopt.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, that's the last on our agenda. I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott. Okay, moving to the council agenda, unfinished old business. Item number 1 is consideration of ordinance repealing ordinance 1918, the banning of specific breeds of dogs within the city limits. This is the third and final reading. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, if the, excuse me, if the council will allow it one more time for us to table item number 1, we have another working session next Tuesday. I am hopeful that we will be done with our discussion there and be able to move forward in December on an actual vote on this item. I do understand that there's someone here in the audience, though, that would like to speak, so I would like to move to table it, and then during the discussion section, allow her to speak on the item or whatever.
So I do have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. Discussion, and I do have, Ms. Cherry, would you like to come to the mic, state your name, and address the council? You have 3 minutes to address the council.
My name is Jan Cherry. I don't oppose or deny the use of pit bulls in the city limits. However, I did have an incident back in August, so I've been fighting the issue since August. So what happened was there was a pit bull at large. I did hit it with my car, caused $2,700 worth of damage to my car. I called the officer. There was no citations written. Animal control was not called. I went to animal control 3 times. Nothing was done. I did go see Mr. Smith. He said that if animal control had wrote citations for the dog at large and for the ordinance, that, he couldn't do anything. So my question is, there was nothing done. So now I'm stuck with trying to get $2,700 trying to fix my car. So I'm just curious as to why the officer didn't call out animal control and why why the person that had the dog was not confiscated, nor was there any citations.
Yeah, Ms. Cherry, what I would suggest is if you will contact my office, I will get with the chief of police.
Okay.
And we'll have a discussion about your concerns and why the officer involved maybe did not contact animal control at that time.
Okay, so I've been to animal control 3 times. And they said because it was a service dog, but in the ordinance it says that if a dog is banned, it cannot be a service dog. So
Okay,
that's why they didn't
yeah.
confiscate it?
Yeah, I can't address that tonight. I can only maybe have a discussion on why animal control was not contacted at the time that the incident occurred.
Okay, and just make an appointment with your office?
Yes, please do.
All right, thank you
And
so
my
much.
assistant's in the back there, and she standing by the back. You can get with her, and she'll set up a time to visit. Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration of ordinance amending ordinance number 2023, updating the procedures for the Russellville Downtown Historic District Commission. This is the final reading. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read by title only with a short explanation.
Second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance submitting ordinance number 2023, updating the procedures for the Russellville Historic District Commission, and for the purpose, this is ordinance, if passed, would amend ordinance number 2023, which set up the procedures for the Russellville Historic District Commission as outlined within the section, making the deletions and insertions as shown throughout the sections of this ordinance before you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance vacating and abandoning a 60-foot unopened right-of-way, South Houston Place. This is the second of 3 readings. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the second of 3 readings by title with a short explanation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
In ordinance vacating and abandoning a 60-foot unopened right-of-way, South Houston Place, between Block 11 and 16, the A.E. Luker Edition, City of Russellville, Arkansas. And for the purposes, this ordinance, if passed, would abandon the aforementioned unopened right-of-way that would be known as South Houston Place. There was a road there, as further shown and described in the attachments with this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moving on to item number 4, consideration of ordinance vacating and abandoning a portion of West 2nd Street right-of-way adjacent to the south of lots 10 through 12, Block 9, and lots 5 through 9, Block 10 of the McClure and Bayless Edition, as depicted in Exhibit A. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with a reading requirement, read the second of 3 readings by title with a short explanation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning a portion of West 2nd Street right-of-way adjacent to and south of lots 10 through 12, Block 9, and lots 5 through 9, Block 10, and McClure and Bayless Edition is depicted in Exhibit A of the Center, Phase 3, City of Russellville, Arkansas. And for other purposes, this ordinance, if passed, would abandon the aforementioned right-of-way as further shown and described in the attachments with this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item number 5.
Mayor, I move we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the first of 2 readings by title only with a short explanation.
Second.
Okay, so this is to consider an ordinance adopting a revised city zoning code by reference to the City of Russellville. I've got a motion and a second to suspend the rules, read the first of 2 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have 1 no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting revised city zoning code by reference for the city of Russellville, Arkansas. For the purpose of this ordinance, if passed, would pass the revised zoning code. It would repeal the current zoning code as has been advertised with the city website and as has been discussed in the city public hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item number 6 is consideration of ordinance adopting revised land subdivision development code. This is the second of 3 readings. What is the motion for council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the second of 3 readings by title with a short explanation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting revised land subdivision development code by reference for the city of Russellville, Arkansas. For the purposes this ordinance, if passed, would adopt a new revised land subdivision development code, replace the currently one now in existence and has been distributed or made available through the city's website and also through public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moving on to new business, item number 1 is consideration of an ordinance rezoning certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas for other purposes. This was unanimously recommended for denial by the Planning Commission. It's, I think, potentially a spot zoning type of issue. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read one time only by title with a short explanation.
I have a motion to read one time only
Correct.
with short explanation. Do I have a second? Motion for discussion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion. Ms. John Dahl, can you explain this, the situation? You're probably better suited than I.
Yes, absolutely. So the property owner wanted to make improvements, remodel their existing structure, enlarge it, because of their family situation. And so they wanted to move an RV or a mobile home into the property, and it's not permitted in an R2 zone. And so they came to the Planning Commission to rezone it from R2 to R3. It is a spot zoning item. The commission did unanimously recommend denying the application. We did meet with Mr. Dennis and are trying to work on a solution. We gave him a couple options of how he could potentially move forward without remodeling or without rezoning the property. I don't have a final solution because I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but he was going to go back and kind of consider his options. And he's not planning on moving forward with anything until January. He does understand that the commission did recommend denial, and we're kind of going backwards and trying to come up with a different solution.
Thank you.
What are his options in this situation? I mean, because he's got a valid point, you know, it's for a temporary purpose of trying to better his
He does have a
homestead.
valid point. We do not allow these types of structures per the code. You can't live in an RV on your property. If you move a temporary structure in historically in Russellville, once it's on the property, even temporarily, it does not get removed. And so then enforcement on that becomes an obvious issue for the city. So we haven't allowed those temporarily. He is considering potentially purchasing some storage buildings and converting those into a single-family residence. He has enough property where he would subdivide his property, put that temporary single-family residence on it while he completely remodels his home. That's one option he's looking at. I think that's the direction he's kind of leaning. The other option is to live in the home as he remodels it. At this point, he was gonna think on some items and then come back as he gets closer, and we're gonna continue trying to work on something that allows him to move forward.
So we don't currently have any type of temporary allotment for this.
No, not even temporarily is what the code, it says, you can have an RV or something parked on your property, but in no instances can you live in that on your property unless you're in a mobile home park or in a manufactured home in an R3 zone.
So can you explain to me the spot zoning piece on this?
So all of the properties are R2 zoned properties surrounding this, and changing that from an R2 to an R3, that would be the only property that is zoned R3.
So that would put us in legal jeopardy, or?
It doesn't put us in legal jeopardy. Obviously, you can choose to spot zone something, but then all the uses that are permitted in R3 could be permitted at this location. So if someone approached him, or if he decided to build something on his property, he could build an apartment complex on this. And in the comprehensive plan, this calls for more of a rural neighborhood, lower density, not a higher density. R3 is our highest density zone.
So it becomes one of those, if we do this, then we're gonna have to do this for everyone, or at least open it up to that. Is that correct?
Yes, typically, we try not to spot zone. We allow extensions of zone. So if there was an R3, even catty corner, we could say that that would be just an extension of that zone. But because everything surrounding this is R2, we're saying staff is recommending denial on it, and that's what the planning commission went with.
And I have had property owners in the area contact me that were opposed to rezoning this particular piece of property, concerns about property value and aesthetics in the area.
Ms. John Dahl, I guess in theory, for lack of a better word, if there was almost some type of a temporary special use permit application or process, think about if a person's house floods or anything else and they have an RV, it only makes sense that it would be easier, cheaper, easier to temporarily, have that possibility or that use instead of having to go rent something or stay in a motel or anything else. It only makes sense. So it might be something for consideration going forward.
Absolutely, could definitely
The only
be
thing
something.
that scares me with that is someone move an RV in and then the completion date of where, they say, hey, it's gonna take us 2 months, and then it just drags on, it's 6 months, and it's 9 months, and then the next thing you know, they're living in an RV and they have been for 3 or 4 years. That's what really kinda.
But the special use permit gives the city a lot of, it may not be the right term, but something like that gives the city some parameters to go back on.
Is there a
Is there any sort of legal mechanism to allow for something like that with a time period? I understood it that once you say you've got that special use there, it's attached to the property in perpetuity. Am I incorrect in that?
Is there a mechanism that the council has at its disposal which would allow the property owner a temporary permit, if you will, of some sort?
No.
No, okay.
There's not. I was at the planning commission meeting. I was asked informally by some people, there's just no way to do anything under the current written zoning code. You have to put something in the zoning code, like the new one that you're about to pass, that could allow it, but you don't have it, just like you don't have it in the current one we have. And so by the rules of the zoning code, there is nothing that can allow any type of temporary thing. Not a variance, not a special exception, no nothing.
So
what's
if
the
we
best
had
way forward here, Ms. John Dahl? It sounds like he's waiting to make a decision, so would it be
He's
best
waiting.
to table this, and what should we do? What would be your recommendation?
Well, staff is going to stay with the recommendation that this be denied because it is a spot zoning request. And when you rezone to an R3, anything that's permitted in that R3 could be built in this location. Even though that's not the intention of the current property owner, it would be spot zoning. I think the best thing is to deny this application and then allow staff to continue to work with the owner as we're trying to come up with a solution. And if there's something that we have to come in and do a revision or something that allows for those temporary facilities, that is something we could potentially do. We're trying to work within the bounds of everything right now and come up with a solution that works for the property owner without necessarily rezoning because of the allowances of the uses in that R3 zone.
Mr. Smith, is there in the way that, state law is written, are we able to, I understand that we'd have to have an ordinance in order to do this, but are we able to draft and then pass an ordinance that allowed for temporary uses, with a cutoff date, or is that just something that wouldn't be allowed under state law?
Again, it's, no was my answer before, and it's still that way. You're going to have to alter the zoning code to be able to do what you're wanting to do.
No. I understand. I understand that we'd have to alter the zoning code.
Correct.
But like, let's say that if we added
the
a
only-
section to the zoning
That's
code.
the only way that you can do it, period.
So like, if we added a section to the zoning code that said, like some sort of like renovation section or whatever, to where by purview of the planning commission and the council that sometimes temporary structures would be allowed for no more than 6 months. That would be something that we could write and then pass as a body, and it wouldn't go against anything that state law says we're able to do.
No, once you put it in the zoning code to allow this type of situation, then it would be allowed if they followed the procedure. But
Thank
right
you.
now, you don't have any of that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Smith, one more question. So if we don't deny this, then we are spot zoning. Does that not open us to some legal jeopardy? Because spot zoning does cause a lot of lawsuits.
Again, the spot zoning, that comes down to, proof and the ultimate in a court of law. It's not as probably clear-cut as city planner thinks it is, because you're not spot zoning, say, your typical instance of dropping a commercial zone in a sea of residential zones. So it's a closer call. But yes, if you do change the zoning, then the neighbors could try and allege that it was spot zoning and take the city to court, and there would be a court decision whether or not it was spot zoning. And if they could prove it was, then the zone would be reversed and probably some type of damage possibly paid out. So yes, there is legal jeopardy if it's changed, and there could be a case made of spot zoning.
Mr. Mayor, it seems to me that if we would go ahead and deny this here and entrust Ms. John Dahl and her department trying to work out a solution for the property owner and bring back the possible solutions there that are amicable both to the city and the property owner would be a wise course, because she's willing to work with them, she's trying. But if we will just go ahead and defeat this, vote this down, and then give her the opportunity to work with the property owner, seems logical to me.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, and that was my reason for requesting to read this one time only, was to do that very thing.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, we're back to the motion, waiting on a second to read one time only with a short
Second.
explanation.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This is,
Do you realize what you're voting for?
we're voting
You're-
for reading it one time only.
Which means, okay. Roll call.
Is that correct? We're voting on to read it one time only.
I understand, which means you're moving in the direction of passing it. So just make sure you understand that's what you're voting on.
So, wait a minute.
We're voting to read it, and then after we've
If
read
it-
it, then we'll take a vote up or down on the
Correct.
ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
So I want to be clear, Mr. Parliamentarian. So a yes vote on this means we
We'll
go
read it.
against the planning commission?
No, all you're doing now is removing, dispensing with the rule that requires 3 readings in full on 3 different days. If you want to dispose of it up or down either way tonight, then you should vote yes. If you want to punt it down the road till next month, then vote no.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay.
All right. So, roll call on the reading, please.
Mr. Westcott,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Harrell. I said Mr. Harris. Mr. Olson. Mr. Tripp. Mr. Gray. 7.
Okay. Motion passes.
An ordinance rezoning certain real estate of Russellville, Arkansas, for the purpose of this ordinance passed would rezone property from R2 to R3 that's located at 1195 Jimmy Lyle Road, Russellville, Arkansas, as further shown in the attachment labeled Exhibit A and described in Exhibit B.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration of a resolution granting a special use permit to operate an automobile sales and service located at 1607 South Knoxville Avenue. What is the desire of the planning, this was unanimously recommended by the planning commission. What is the desire of the council?
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? I have a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, and before we go on to item number 3, item number 4, that item has been recommended for removal from the agenda. Can I get a motion to remove item number 4?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number 3, consideration of a resolution granting a special use permit to operate a utility substation located at 1412 West C Street, submitted by TCW on behalf of Camp Cottle. This was unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission. What is the desire of the council?
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion to adopt and a second. Discussion. I do have Mr. Peel here, who has asked to speak on item number 3. Mr. Peel, would you like to come to the podium and address the council? And you have 3 minutes, please, to... We got a little confusion as to who made the motion in the second.
I made the motion to adopt.
Motion.
I made I seconded the motion.
Thank you. Mr. Peel?
Yes, sir. I'm here as a representative of Pathology Services Labs, which is at 1430 West C Street. If you don't know, Pathology Services employs 5 physicians, pathologists, and the numerous lab techs, and their principal function is essentially, because I won't be able to set this out very well myself, to look at tissue underslides through microscopes to determine if they're cancerous or otherwise the pathology of them, whether it's molecular pathology or cytopathology or otherwise. We're a part of a medical corridor there, and so immediately to the southwest of the property to be rezoned or for special use permit is also Davis Neurology. Also along that same street is a number of single-family residences. All of those uses are compatible with the C4 zone, which is the applicable zoning for that property. The proposed use is entirely incompatible with the C4 zone, hence the need at a minimum for a special use. My argument is essentially the same as that raised by Ms. John Dahl in response to issue number 1. This is going to be spot zoning, and if it's allowed here, it's going to have to be allowed all the way down C Street in front of these residences and in the middle of this medical corridor. My second concern is that there is very little detail. The application simply says that this is for an electrical hub, an RNOC substation, or a TCW utility substation. When I look these things up, it references transferring voltage, electricity coming in, requests a gravel parking lot for perhaps construction in a laydown yard, none of which relates to residences and quiet businesses of the type that are currently there, including also dental clinics and quiet retail establishments. The last concern is regarding the relative speed at which this has been presented. The application was only filed 35 days ago, and at the agenda prep meeting, the actual clients were here along with other representatives in the area, and they were left with the impression that the city was going to allow other city property to be made available or considered for this use. And so they're not here tonight, but then apparently an email thread over the last 48 hours, culminating at like 9 o'clock this morning, resulted in a new rendering with a significant change in the manner of development of the property, which has then resulted in it being presented today for use on the originally applied for site. That's my 3 minutes, but in essence, we're asking that the special use petition either be denied as being inconsistent with the zoning applications, or that it be tabled to allow more detail to be specified. Are there going to be overhead lines? We're in a floodplain, so how high are these fences going to be? Is this going to be a lay-down yard? Are we going to be dumping bobcats next to where people are trying to look at small tissue slides under microscopes? Is there going to be noise disturbance? Is this going to be a lot of electricity coming through requiring venting, et cetera, et cetera? None of that is detailed in the application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Phil. We do have representatives from TCW here this evening, if the council would like to hear from TCW, or if you have any other comments, discussion.
Yes, I would love to hear from TCW.
Certainly. Can you state your name and position?
My name is Jackson Wilson. I work for TCW. I'd like to address some of this gentleman's points. There's a lot of speculation. We're not doing anything big electrical lines or overhead lines. Based off the last meeting that we were in, there were some concerns expressed to us about the aesthetics of the building. So we sent some revisions and some renderings to Sarah this morning to try to appease some of the concerns the city council had, and also some of the neighboring landowners. And Sarah, is there a way we can put it up? Oh, okay. We retracted some of the concerns, like the large privacy fence, changing the facade of the building, and adding a security door and an asphalt parking lot to replace the gravel parking lot. There will be no equipment stored on site.
Can we pause the time for a few minutes while we get this rendering up that Mr. John was working on? Are you working to pull that up, Ms.
Yes,
John
sir.
Dahl? Has everyone in the council had a chance to look at the rendering that was sent out?
Yep.
Did you have any, while she's working on it, do you have any questions from Mr. Wilson, huh? Oh, there we go.
How long is it going to take for y'all to construct this property? Is it going to be like a lay-down type yard while you're creating the infrastructure in town? Or is this just going to be like a 3 to 6 month construction?
I don't want to give a specific timeline. We're really just wanting to get started as quickly as possible. But as far as I assume when you say lay down a general area for parking equipment, this will not serve that purpose at all. This is strictly for our substation.
What, at the prep meeting, there was a discussion of noise. Is there any significant noise that would be
No,
produced
sir.
by this?
No, sir.
What about, Sarah, what about the floodplain that was brought up? This is in a floodplain. If our zoning codes have certain things about fences and raising things up, where there was a discussion about that as well?
They would have to come into compliance with floodplain development permits. They'll have to go through the standard permitting process for floodplain development.
So what's that gonna look like, having to build this up? In this area, there's single-family dwellings across the street. There's the medical clinics that Mr. Peel was referring to. So is it gonna look out of place with all of this stuff to meet the requirements of the floodplain?
We don't have an elevation study, but I mean, I'm assuming we can blend it in pretty well. It's not going to be up on stilts.
That's okay.
So there's medical office buildings all around. I know that I've heard from 2 of the office buildings having concerns about it. With it all being brought to light at 9 this morning for a vote at 7 o'clock tonight, it seems a little quick and concerning from my point of view. We just went through the whole zoning code and all that stuff to make sure we're putting things in the right places and making them look the way they do. We discussed pushing this why is it this particular lot? Why can't it be pushed back in the back so it's not seen and visible to all those residences and the quiet commercial, quiet medical? All that being said, I'd like to make a motion to table this for further discussion.
I have a motion to table.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Discussion.
Mayor-
Mr. Wilson, there are some considerations. I think you guys have gotten construction crews ready to start. Is that correct?
Yes, this will significantly delay our start date if we can't get this approved tonight.
Mayor, question. So if, in this email, and from the agenda prep meeting, there was discussion about city property and so forth. So was that, did that discussion occur? Like, and
We
there was
did.
something in here about having to sell it. Do we have to sell it? Can you lease it to them? I mean, there's other deals. There's a piece of property here that, we've had for years that's in this email that is basically almost useless to the city.
We did have a meeting early this week or last week.
This week.
Relating to properties, and there are some, as I understand it, Mr. Wilson, you can correct me, there are some considerations that they have in relation to location, being, closer to the main thoroughfares and things like that, which helps facilitate their project. And we did provide them a list of not only some city we did talk about some city properties, but also some real estate properties that were also potentially available for their consideration. I think the biggest issue, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they've got this land pretty much locked up pending the approval of the special use permit, and they've got construction crews ready to go, so.
Yes, and to your point, Mr. Olson, when we did our search for property, there was not a lot that came back, especially on the MLS. And Sarah was kind enough to send around another parcel that was up, but we think we're gonna have the same issue that we have tonight with it not fitting in the area, so.
I would,
Which
the
parcel's that?
one Mr. Olson's talking about back against, closer to the railroad tracks would seem a little more appropriate, but I do want to commend you for, when this was first presented, we were talking about slatted fences and things like that. This looks.
We've made some serious
Yeah, that's some serious,
alterations.
so I appreciate that, and that makes it look more like the neighborhood. Is there a lot of, so what's this gonna look like on a daily basis? If I live across the street, what am I gonna see every day?
Minimal activity.
So one car, one truck, no trucks?
Probably no trucks on average.
Or is it gonna be the noise factor, is gonna be noise, vibration, anything into
No,
that nature?
It'll be quiet.
I mean, when you say quiet, I mean, I
No
can stand
noise.
here, no noise at
No
all.
noise.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a similar structure off of Skyline Drive, off of West Main, on that vacant piece of property on the backside, kind of be north of the Middle Henry parking lot. There is a concrete structure, about 15 by 20, sitting there, and I think that is an existing utility structure like this that they're talking about constructing.
You coming over there by Daylight Donuts?
Yes, but east, it's kind of between the Dentist and Daylight. It's on the south, what I'm going to call the south end there, where West Main Place connects into Skyline right there.
Right.
There is one sitting there on that lot right now that basically looks like a cobblestone concrete building that's about 15 by 20. And it's been there since I can remember as a kid.
The one thing, Mr. Wilson, that's been mentioned a couple of times is potential, and we talked about this last week, about moving to the back of the property, back toward the cul-de-sac, and there was an issue there.
Unfortunately, the same seller is not allowed to sell that property until 2024, so we don't really have an option at purchasing anything other than this property right now.
Well, with these improvements, I could get a little closer. I don't know if you're familiar with what a lot of cities do. Raleigh, North Carolina has one of their major water pump stations. It looks like a single-family dwelling as you drive by, but inside they're pumping water uphill. Louisville, Kentucky, this is Greek architecture. I don't think we need to go there, but if this looks like a single-family dwelling and functions like a single-family dwelling, except no one goes there and goes home to bed at night and it's quiet, then maybe we can get there. I could get there as long as it looks like a house and functions like a house, but nobody's living there. As long as it fits the neighborhood and there's no noise. But that's a significant improvement of what we were presented just a few days ago.
Mr. Wilson, can I just ask, if to make it look like a house, you're gonna need windows and things of that nature?
Correct.
I assume that presents security issues.
Those would be security issues.
Well, the one
So-
in Raleigh, North Carolina, the windows are steel. They look like a window, but if you go up there, if you go to put a key in the door, there's no way to get in the door. It's just, everything's a facade, so it blends in with the neighborhood.
So, I mean,
If you'll
this
send me
is-
an email, I'll send you a link to the video. It's a pretty cool, and it's what a lot of cities are doing. When you have to have infrastructure. You got to pump sewage, you got to pump water, make it look like a single-family home. And Raleigh said, the city of Raleigh said they do not have any break-ins. They used to have people get in their pump stations and stuff. It looks like a house, so people just kind of pass it by, thinking it's a house.
Would that be permittable? Because this is zone C4, correct? So residential wouldn't.
Or a medical clinic, or whatever you want to make it look like. You can put Dr. Internet on the outside. So.
So I do
So,
have a couple of motions. The motion that's currently being considered by the council is a motion to table.
So just real quick, so this is in an area where there are both single-family homes and office buildings. And with these improvements, it looks like an office building with no windows. So I want to make sure that we've got everything in place. I want to make sure that there's harmony and so on and so forth. But I'm still not understanding why, with these proposed improvements, when we came to them last week with our list of things that we would need to move forward, and then they met each one of those. And it seems to me like it's going to be in harmony with the surrounding areas. It's not going to be any noise. There's not going to be any vibrations. There's not going to be electric whatever through the frequencies through the air causing whatever. I don't see where this isn't in harmony with these proposed changes.
I agree with you. We haven't really had a chance to see these. This was all this morning, and we just got to look at them, as Mr. Olson said. So that's my only concern is, but I don't want to delay you either at the same time, but it's a lot of new from just a few days ago.
I think we could do something, as early as next week. I just think that given the surrounding area neighbors a chance to see something, hear, touch, feel, whatever, since 9 this morning to vote on it tonight, that just seems quick. So I think that they should be allowed a voice in this. They're living next to it, or
Okay,
working next to it.
keep in mind that next week is Thanksgiving, and we already do have a working session scheduled for Tuesday. So if we were going to try to do something, it would next week, like a special call or something, it would seem like Monday would be our only option.
Let me ask an easy question. The purpose of this building, the purpose of your company, sir, is to do what?
Provide internet service.
Provide internet service to whom?
Residents.
Residents of Russellville. Okay, so here's a company that wants to provide better internet services to the people of Russellville. Surely to goodness, we're not going to withhold this project any longer for the sake of what? A window, a bush, gravel? Really, we're talking increased internet service for the entire people of Russellville. Is there anything substantial going to change over the next month or two or whatever, whether it's a bush here or a tree there? No. I don't understand why we would even consider delaying on such an easy decision as this.
On the artist rendering where you've done some changes there, it shows bushes and stuff like that. Is that all planned as far as having bushes in front of it and looking it nice like that? Or is it
Yes.
just, okay. And then to kind of piggyback off what Mr. Westcott says, I can tell you that one thing that I have gotten, an issue that I've gotten over and over and over is, and I'm not going to name the provider, but I've been asked over and over and over, what can the city do about X internet provider or, X service that the people, who live here have that is horrible. and they dislike it. And every time I talk to them, I tell them it's not really anything that the city can do, because it's someone else has got to be willing to come in and lay the cable, and someone's got to be willing to come in and put in that work. And until someone steps up and says they want to do that for our community, this is where we're at, and the city can't really do anything about that. Now we're at a position where we have the opportunity to do something about that. And I think that if we don't move forward, and that we are doing a disservice to all those people that, at least I, in my conversations, have told them, when we do have the option to do something, we're going to move forward and help them.
I would agree. It's just like Mr. Olson said, this is a lot of change in the last 10 hours or so. So, our agenda prep is December 6th. If we're talking about that kind of date, with that 2 weeks, can you still get something set by then?
How about next week? Justin's already got a deal scheduled for Tuesday, so why don't we just combine a special call meeting with that?
I'm fine. I'm already going to be there at that. It's just, it is Thanksgiving. I know some people are traveling, and so I was just trying to see if 2 weeks would kill you, or do we need to do it Tuesday?
We have crews that are ready to go and start and get a gig.
How about
hopefully, to
Tuesday?
everybody in Russellville.
How about Tuesday? It's Thursday.
I'll settle for the fastest, but
Well, that's Tuesday. So I'm talking about this Tuesday. We're already going to be meeting, or some of us are going to be meeting anyway. So
okay, that'll work.
So great. So are we going to get a special call meeting on Tuesday then? Does that sound like what we want to do?
So can we
Well, I mean, that was just thrown out by some council
amend
members.
the
and we're already
motion to
gonna be
table
here.
to a special call meeting Tuesday?
Okay, I've got a motion
Second.
to make sure we're clear. I got a motion to amend the rule to table to call a special call meeting on Tuesday, whatever day that is. 22nd?
Okay, can we get this out to the public? So if anybody in that neighborhood, anybody further wants to have anything to say, they can. So however we need to get that out as quickly as we can, especially on a weekend and a holiday coming up.
What time is your meeting on Tuesday, Justin?
5:30.
Is that going to be a marathon?
We could do the special call at 5:30 and then have our working session after.
Correct.
Okay. So 5:30?
We can do it.
Tuesday. Is there anything that TCW needs to bring to the table Tuesday to get this resolved one way or the other? Because I hate for them to come in Tuesday and then and the council be, well, can you look at this? Can you consider, and maybe that's not possible, but I think the most that we can give them to be prepared to answer questions and make the council feel as comfortable as you can would be beneficial. So,
Can I piggyback off that?
I'm sorry?
Can I piggyback off that? If there's anything that's going to be needed for the resolution to be worked up, it'll have to be provided prior to, so I can incorporate it.
Okay. So if there, what I hear you saying, if there's any special conditions to allow the special use permit, they need to be put forward.
That's correct.
Such as, as an example, if the council decided that this artist rendering that you provided was acceptable, then we would want to make sure that we noted that, so that you did in fact build what you're presenting to the council. Right. So, again, I'm just asking, is there anything else for the good of this discussion that TCW needs to be aware of that they can prepare for on Tuesday, and rather than come in and then have to go back and circle the wagons again?
I'd love to have my window that's not a window, but I can live without it. But the more it looks like a house or an office, the better.
We certainly did our best. This is not what we typically built in our other communities. So we have done a lot of alterations to make it look like this.
Way better than what we represented.
No, I want to commend you with what you did bring forward. I think it looks great.
Thank you.
I just have one question just for Sarah, and you can just nod your head yes or no. Would this be considered spot zoning? Oh, no. She shook her head no for those for those watching.
All right.
Ma-
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, just for reference, as I spoke earlier, that if you want to see two existing structures like this, it may not be identical, but kind of similar in purpose. The one is 3198 West Main Place, and I believe there's one out behind PetSmart, there by where East Parkway connects into the highway, whatever, there by Lowe's and so forth. There's another one sitting out there too.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tripp. Okay. All in favor of the motion to table with a special call meeting on Tuesday at 5:30, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We had an original motion on the floor do we need to consider that motion? No. Okay. Anything else for the good of the council?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.